the top of page Daled. So we in the middle of discussing the concept that we started it, but the unique of Chitzonim can be from two sources. Dini Yodua, that's how it starts in the beginning. Top page Daled. Dini Yodua shenik is Chitzonim Chai Shal Klipa. It's basically found the two ways that the Klipa is the sources of rebellion, opposition today to Elikus as two ways. Which riba tzimtzumim means that like I gave the marshal yesterday that of a teacher who waters down the concept so much, it can be misunderstood. It can be taken the opposite direction. That's riba tzimtzumim, that you water things down less from the opposite. Because makif alien. Makif alien means that because it's a makif, it's like is above relating to them. It's not doesn't matter to them what they're doing, so they'll do things from that makim, like from that madrega they can also get chayes. Mishakasov, and the second oifen of the chitzanim is a pasuk. It says in Tagbi Kanesha that it's a pasuk in one of the Haftarahs. Tagbi Kanesha that the klipas go high like a nesha, which means to go very to the makif ha'eli. Mele gam mitzad mshachas hamakif yesh lam gam ken ktas achizah. So the mele the makif gives them a little achizah to the klipas. Zog mashamor azal. So he brings in another source that the famous Chazal, Anemon the Rabban and the Bali mechupe didhu. The Gemara says an interesting statement that why do we find that Talmidei Chachamim who clothing a person who works in the field, a person who works very hard in the field and does a lot of manual labor, we can understand why his clothing gets ruined. But Anaman the Rabbanan, people, Rabbanan means the Chachamim, the Talmidim, was sitting in yeshiva and learn all day. Why did the clothing get ruined? Why do we see the clothing lose? The Gemara says, Minhu, because the Gemara talks about shadim, like push, rob, the godim, that causes the godim chachamim to ruin. So okay, that is the pshat, the pshat view of the Gemara. But
so the question is understood. So everybody uses, when you use it, it's going to get ruined. So it's a normal wear and tear. So what's that expression?
Asta Gutakash, I don't know. Okay.
No, I said the question.
I don't know the answer. I agree with you, but I guess that's the view. Maybe in those days it ruined more. But let's the simple answer will be to the question is that it ruins more than it should have based on just usage. Maybe that's pshat. Yeah, in other words, it doesn't talk about an average wear and tear of clothing. I guess it ruins more than usual. So we're talking about something. It's not something we experience now. It's something that happened. How talk about it. In those days, I guess something happened to the clothing that there was more than wear and tear. Let's say. So what happened? That's what the Gemara says. Obviously, our mimer is looking at it deeper. It's not just the shading on around and push. Mona Rabbanan really says there's a message here. It doesn't talk about physical clothing. I mean, maybe just about that too, but that the message to learn is something different. Mona Rabbanan means something else. Mona Rabbanan levushim the Maisa mitzvahs. When Chachamim do Maisa mitzvahs, in Ma'aseh Mitzvah, they're called levushim, like we learn in Tanya, in the Dalet, the Arichas, the mitzvahs are called levushim. Mitzvahs. Remember that over there talks the difference between Torah and mitzvahs. Torah is a mazen. Torah and Tanya. Torah is mazen because Torah it's like a digestible food that internalize and digest becomes part of you. Torah, you learn Torah, your mind is totally occupied with study. Mitzvahs is something external. You do it with you act, but it doesn't internalize. It's not internalized. Say mitzvah, tefillin, it's any mitzvah. It's all chitzoni. So b'meila, that's called levush. That's one reason. But here is talking about a different. That's a simple reason. But here's talking about another concept. Mitzvahs are levushim because the amshach alikis from mitzvahs is from a makif. So the one that ban levushim, the ma'aseh mitzvahs, v'yesh lam inika mizeh. So the Gemara says shadim, but in our case, the shadim is just a marshal and koiches and evil powers, the klippus. Yeah, just like in the Gemara story, in the simple sense, kaviyachol the shadim rob and use the clothing of the Talmidei Chachamim. Similarly, in this conceptual sense, that the koiches klipa get a unique from the levush of ma'aseh mitzvahs. Now he goes into more details. Really, because it jumps to another point that there's a higher level of makif. It says machalek in two levels of makif. Makif akor and makif arachik. There's a famous mime of the Alter Rebbe called the Torah Parshas Bracha. Mizmor Shir Chanukas Habayis. He talks about the three madrigas Mazen Levush Habayis. So in Makiv, there's Levush and Bais. Makiv Akor and Makiv Arachik. What's the difference? The Bais is davar mafsik legam shal yuchal gzor lichnitzelo. Bais is Makiv Arachik. How do we see Bais Makiv Arachik? A Levush, a clothing garment is measured according to the person who wears them. So it's like a makiv, it surrounds them. It's not internalized, but it's still makiv akor l'pnimi. Every piece of clothing is measured according to the size of the person who wears it. A house, a room, is something which is not related to the size. So it's called makiv arach. In our that's. But here he is using another difference between bais and levush. The bais, he says, when a person lives in a house, the person sits in a house, and the house has is closed, so it prevents outsiders from touching him, from entering his place. So the bias prevents. אבל לבוש אין הדבר מאפשר גם, אבל חליז וזה נגיע מדבר זו. שאין כן לבוש, a person can wear levush and still someone can touch him. It's also martial, which is there's some similarity. When they get to the nimshal, he says the two levels of makif. There's the makif that allows, like the yinika, that's the makif we're talking about here. And then there's a higher level of makif, which is like a bais, doesn't allow anything. And on the nimshal, what he said earlier, remember we spoke about memale and seviv, the two madrigas, the Elkiv of the Erech and the Erech Seviv. Both of them, the memale is like a muzzin. It's like and seviv is like levush. So levush, there's also a yinika. That's what we spoke earlier. That's the whole discussion here. He said shegam seviv yesh lam ktsas achiza. There's a higher level like bais. That's a marshal and the third madriga we learned earlier. The pnimis v'atzmus that doesn't allow. That's a kadosh baruch hu b'chvei v'atzmus. So he goes into a little discussion here also how it's expressed. שזה close average במצווה לתורה שבעל פה. This is the difference in kiyum mitzvahs and Torah שבעל פה. The Torah שבעל פה נקרא bais. Torah שבעל פה is called bais. Kedua the ik bais means it's like a house that surrounds the person in a way that prevents outside entry. Kedua the ik shmir of Torah שבעל פה. The ik shmir of the ikar of the shmir means the watching, the saving of the person of is in Torah Sheba'al Peh. Kamayma Shama is a Mishnah. There's a pasuk in the Chumash, I think it's in Dvar. Shama is called a mitzvah azois. So the Gemara says a Mishnah, which means Torah Sheba'al Peh.
What does that mean, Shemira? In what sense, Shemira?
We just said shmira from klippos, shmira from that doesn't allow the entry of outside of evil influences. Torah Sheba'al Peh is really the basis of the shmira.
So Torah Shebechtav doesn't need that.
Torah Shebechsav, I don't know, it doesn't talk about Torah Shebechsav here. Torah Shebechsav. Sorry, what was the Torah Shebechsav? 1 second. Let's see here. Yeah, it's a good. I think it's possible that Torah Shebechsav doesn't have that quality because we learn. I mean, it's not like I'm saying. It's not contradicting the whole. It's not bringing Torah Shebechsav into the discussion. So we can look at it any way we want. We can say Torah Shebechsav is above everything. It's even above the shmira. We can say Torah Shebechsav does have. I'm not sure what the proper way to understand Torah Shebechsav in this context, but I don't know. I guess.
So sorry.
What?
So every time a mitzvah is performed, I'm saying without the shmir, like he's saying that we need Torah to have a shmir, but like
Right.
by itself,
Right.
every time we do a mitzvah, there's yonika.
Could be. Okay, let's see what he says. He says, let's bring us a few makayos here that we'll see what it means. In the mitzvah does not have that quality to watch and prevent us from and it says like mitzvah. You can say mitzvah geras mitzvah, but mitzvah does not. It's a in a practical sense, it makes sense also that when a person just does a mitzvah without knowing what he's doing, without having so it doesn't prevent him. He'll do a mitzvah, and then a minute after that, he can do something. He can do the opposite. Torah, learning Torah Sheba'al Peh, which infuses him with the meaning that it's more of a block. Makes sense to a degree that it's more of a block that prevents him from averos. Look what he brings them all. He brings them all.
You remind me of the mind site. It says Megino Masla does prevent from doing a whatever.
What are you saying?
No Torah Megino Matzla. No, I learned.
That's what he said. That's the next line. That's the next line.
The whole.
The Gemara says I think it's in Satan, no? The Eraisa, I don't know. The Eraisa Megina Masa Torah has this quality that it protects. There's a word, protects and saves. I've been at the lawyer sigma, even when you don't learn Torah. When a person learns Torah, it's even if it stops, because it's in his mind, it prevents. Say, touch what's Megina Matzla, that Megina mina Isurim. Megina means it protects from Isurim, from pain. Matzla mina chet. And it also saves a person. It saves a person from sinning. Shamitzvah is megid bein the asik v'daf. That's what the Gemara says about the different Torah mitzvahs. Mitzvahs megid, but also bein the asik. But when a person is doing a mitzvah, b'shas ma'aseh, then it has a quality of protecting him. But Torah bein the lo asik. That's one. And Laman Da'amar Gemara. There's another. There's a machlekes Gemara over there. I don't remember the details. Shgam Eraisa Megina Masla. Gam Rak bein the asik. But there's the day in Gemara that says that Gemara that Limud Torah only also saves and protects only when he study. In a term Megina v'gam Matzla. Mitzvah Rak Megina v'lo Matzla. According to that opinion, there's also a mile of Torah of a mitzvah. That mitzvah is Rak Megina v'lo Matzla. It means they only protect from Isurim, but they don't save you from Averis. Torah does have the quality. So according to both opinion, we see there's Torah has a higher, a stronger quality of protection. Shezeh bechlolus isan amayla shel b'Torah mitzvahs. So from this Gemara, we see, according to both opinions, the generally advantage of Torah over mitzvahs. You see, here he already doesn't talk about Torah Shabbat Peh for some reason. But before about Torah Shabbat Peh, maybe it's expressed in Torah Shabbat Peh more. Here he goes back to Torah in general. Mile of Torah mitzvah shalchen aver mechaber mitzvah vein aver mechaber Torah. It's another Gemara. It's aver mechaber mitzvah. Person does a mitzvah, and then he doesn't aver. So the aver extinguished, undoes the positive effect of the mitzvahs. When a person learns Torah, even if he doesn't have the effect of Torah is there. Is not done. So from these few sources that he brought now, number one, Shomer is a Mishnah, then Megino Matzla, and then it Ein Aver Mechaber Torah. So you see from all three sources, we see Nimtzad mitzafnes hamaki v'eshleilach etzayin. So in the nimshal, what we're learning here is that these two madrigas of mitzvahs and Torah, which is levush and bayis, in our context, this is an example of the two madrigas of Makif and Pnimis v'atzmos. Mitzad HaMakif, yesh nikolach etzayin. B'shenkim Pnimis v'atzmos and sof, ein shayach l'mizei nikolach etzayin. Mishakosov kvoid yelachar lo yeten. So that concept that in atzmos and sof there's no unique of chitzayim is also marumas in the pasuk kvoid yelachar lo yeten. My honor I'll not give to Acha. Acha means the klippus. Shebchinas kvoid yatzmi yelachar lo yeten. Adarabah, not only that, mizeh nimshach shviras haklippus. From the madrega of Pnimis v'atzmos, that breaks the klippus. She spot, like we started this discussion with Makas Pcheiros. She spot the kol pe'eli oven, that all the evildoers are dispersed. Cholei v'echei kareison, and they're all eliminated. Shezeinu meshakosov ani overlo yachid. That's what it says, that V'avarti be'eret mitzrayim b'layla hazeh v'keisi kol pchoyer. So we say in that God ani overlo yachid. Shemitzat nisa'er. Not Pchinas I'm not sure what means here. Pchinas Atmis and Sof over Loy Achad. It was Pchinas don't fit exactly. It's in the original. All right. Modern Lashon Tzad B'chinas Eir. No, I'm not sure what that. Not sure what that Lashon means. Not sure the deep. Okay. Mele. So okay. So we finished discussing. So we finished discussing that this thing he started talking about in page Reshut Gimel. He's talking about the Agada. He was learning Pshat in the Agada. The Agada says that ועברתי בעת מצרים הלילה ההוא, והכיתי כל פרעות מצרים, אני ולא מלך, אני ולא סוף, על הקדוש ברוך הוא בעצמי. He explained that from that madriga of, you remember about the Telas Yaakov, but the Klippas Egos, so the whole point is making here that because Mitzrayim, in Yitzias Mitzrayim, there was the Eibishter, first of all, he said earlier that Malach can't even reach Makom HaChesed. Number two, can break because he can't reach it. Also, it can break it because it's so the last thing he explained is not only can it break it, but there's a unique. Chitzanim have a unique from that, like I've explained. Hashenken the madriga of Lasilov, the that he said Ani v'loy acher. Then the case called B'chor. Hashem ikol B'chor. That B'chor means the strongest, the klipa kasha of the Mitzrayim that can be broken and destroyed and eliminated only through the gilui of the Pnimius V'atzmus. Zeu in the Pesach v'Sukkos. So now, according to what we just learned, we'll understand also a major difference between Pesach and Sukkot. Sukkot, yes, a Nikolai story. The Gilui of Sukkot, the Giluim of Sukkot are in a way that there is a unique, means there's a source of sustenance also to the Ein Sorim, to the 70 Ein Sorim of the Ein U'Mesoilem. We say Sukkos, Hallo Savai Kol Goyim, Shapchol Kolum, Govalin Chazde. That the Goyim, Shapchol Kolum, Govalin Chazde, Shemitzad, what Pshat Govalin Chazde, Shemitzad is Gabas Chasodim Alisor, Zeh Govalin Chazde, Pnesimin et Chavkeni, because they didn't get the Gilui from Chesed. In et Chavkeni, in Yontev, so the Goyim also praise the Eibishter for the fact that Goval Aleinu has the why, because they get some scraps also. They get also unique. So the famous Medrash. Why do we there's the 7 of an account, all the karbonos of all the days of Sukkot, Purim, together it's 70. What's the 70? Says the Medrash, the Gemara, because Keneged Ayin Umas. In other words, it's a time when they give in Nikated Ayin Umas, even Sukkot. So that's what happens Sukkot. The Sukkot is a lower level of Gililikus. Mashenken Pesach, ain't a boyfriend kazeh. Sham Shochi ben Neshamas Yisrael Daf. Pesach, Goyim are not Goyim. In Koiches HaKlippa do not get any Nikah. Leifach, or Nogay for Rofei. It says there's an expression Nogay for Rofei, Nogay for Mitzrayim, Rofei Yisrael. That forgot the exact source of that expression, but that's the Nogay of the Mitzrayim, Rofei Yisrael. Means the Mitzrayim Pesach not only don't the Klippas get a sustenance, forget Nogay from Mitzrayim. Nogay means they get destroyed, they get punished. So that's the time of Pesach. Now he says the Chagav, he brings in a shtickle Kabbalah And another place explained a little different reason. Another place in Chassidus, it says a tamazeh. Why? What? In other places, it says the opposite of what it says here. The reason Pesach. In other words, we just remember we explained the three levels yachas to klippah. There is tzimtzumim, which we call memale. There is the makif elyon, like the mana darabanan. And then there's the highest level, which is pnimis atzmas, right? So what's the difference in Pesach and Sukkot? The way he just explained was that, according to, if you understand, in other words, take the context. According to what the way he just explained, sounds like Sukkot is the madrig of Soiv. It's like Makiv Akoriv. Mele, that like Levush. The Memele can be a unique. That's why the Ein Son get the unique. Hashem Pesach is the Gila of Hatzins. That's what he just explained. But he says in another place, he says the opposite. That Sukkot is higher than Pesach. That Pesach, he says, Pesach, I'm sure it's Chesed Dezo. Pesach, the Madrigas Chesed Dezo. Chesed Dezo is a low level. From a low level, Klippos don't get it's directed only to Bnei Sol. Mashenk and Sukkah is Chesed the Eima. So Sukkah is higher, because Sukkah is a Makiv, because it's Makiv, that is why the Goyim get. That's why the Klippos get. So the Chayur, according to that view, Sukkah is higher than Pesach. So how does that fit what we just said here? I mean, Pashas, it's two ways to explain it, but he wants to be metaver these two views. So what is he answering? Yeshleima. It's like true that that's what explained there, but we can also look at it differently. He says that's one way to explain it, but it Sukkah is that's what I said. In other words, the reason in other words, there's in another place in Chassidus, the explanation is because Sukkah is higher than Pesach. So Mela Sukkah is because it's Makif. It's above the limitations. That's why it can be Nimshach and Klippos also. In Pesach, it's a low madrigas, and that low madriga, it's limited. It can only Nimshach to Nishamas Yitzor. That's like I said. That's the other pshat. But he says but here it says the opposite pshat. Like we said, in Makiv Gufa the two madrigas, there is the Torah and mitzvahs, bias and levush. That in Makiv, the Pesach is a higher level. It's like bias. That's why it's only to the Shamas itself. Like we said earlier, so that's also a another view. 1 second, I'm going to look up. So the Chagavi says, "Ubishmini atzeres ugam k'may from kazek k'may Pesach." So he brings in. Okay, I'm just taking a step back. We said earlier, Nogay for Rafa, he just said two words, that in the elaborating. So first of all, it's a pasuk in Yeshaya. Pasuk in Yeshaya says, when Nogay Hashem es Mitzrayim, Nogay for Rafa. That's the expression, Nogay for Rafa. So Chazal say, Nogay, what Rashi says, it doesn't say here, but Chazal say Nogay for Rafa means Nogay for Mitzrayim, and Rafa l'Yisrael. I just wanted to bring in that Nogay for Rafa is not stam expression from nowhere. It's an expression. It's a lashon pasuk in Yeshaya, And the meaning in the Chazal explain Pshat, Nogav Litzor, Mitzrayim V'Ofer Litzor. It's the maybe it's the Zoya. One second. Let's see. Zoya, it's a Zoya. It's a Zoya. Nogav Mitzrayim V'Ofer Litzor. Choreh. Nazan Enenu. So he says here that Shmini Atzeres is similar to Pesach. In Sukkos Gufa, the day of Shmini Atzeres, what's the difference? That it says, so the famous Medrash, the Medrash says, what is the end of Shmini Atzeres? So after 7 days, that the Makif 70 poim connected Shivim Umay, Marshal Adam Shalom Amalayavai. Boy, let's say me and you will stay alone without all the guests. Let's say whatever is left, let's do a party on our own. That's a marshal the Medrash brings that Shmini Atzeres is not only Kodesh Baruch Hu Yisrael without the Shivim Umas. So that's the same concept that we said here about Pesach, Nogav L'Mitzrayim, that Shivim Umas are not part of it. She'oz Nimshach was Pnimis HaMakif. Concept Pnimis HaMakif, like we said earlier, Shmini Atzeres, Shmini of Pnimis Bina. The number 8 is Maramis of Pnimis Bina. B'shosh of Pnimis HaMakif, Nimshach Sham Yisrael Dafka. V'gam, another. So I guess the Kabbalah, there are 2 reasons why Shmini Atzeres is Pnimis HaMakif. Number 1, because Shmini Atzeres is Pnimis Bina, but Gam Shmini Atzeres Hamshach Pnimis Malchus, Hamshach Pnimis Pnimis. Chayim Sham Yisrael Dafka. 2 Kabbalah, 2 explanations why Shmini Atzeres is the time of Pnimis, of Hamshach Pnimis, unlike the other days of Sukkot. But the whole Shmini Atzeres Ibadan is Derech Hagav here. Because what he wants to tell us in this Maimah is the mile of Pesach of all the other types. So that goes back. So the Pesach is also the Amshach Pnimis Malchus, which means the Malchus here represents the Amshach Pnimis. That is Nimshach Dafka to Amshach Pnimis means that it only the Makabel. That only the Makabel that the Rebbe chooses, which means in our case, Neshamas is so. Now it goes back and says another mile of Shmini Atzeres of Pesach is mile of Shmini Atzeres of Pesach. Pesach, like the fish show, Pesach Havai, Shmini Atzeres is split of Pnimis. It's interesting. The whole Maimah, the point of the whole Maimah is to talk about the mile of Pesach, like you said earlier, the mile of Pesach of the other Yom Tovim. But he says, B'pot is Yosef, Shmini Atzeres is similar to Pesach. Not only that, Shmini Atzeres is an advantage of a Pesach. What's the difference? In Pesach, it says it's something temporary. So Lashon Lefisho. Pesach, it was one leap. In Shmini Atzeres, the Lashon in Siddur, in Kabbalah, Atzeres Lashon Klita. It captures, it absorbs. So that's more b'pnimis. So there's one minor Shmini Atzeres of a Pesach. Okay, but like I said, all this is just to it brings in Shmini Atzeres to crystallize the concept. But when they get to us, so that explains what he asked to me earlier in the Maimah. Why Pesach is dafka diluk medaleg alaorim? That the Gila Likus is in the way of diluk. That is the explanation why the mile Pesach, Dafka Pesach is the Gilui of Atzmos, because you have to reach so low and break the clippers. So that we need the Gilui from Pnimis Atzmos. So that was explanation number 1. Because it was so low, so we couldn't. It was impossible to to redeem us unless there was a gila from such a madrig. But now he's going to introduce another tam, which when you get deeper, I think it's similar but different. Let's see what is the second tam is. שבכלל, ובחינס מלכם, גם בחינס סלקם, ששייך לשטר שלו, so this, we just, the two madrigas and we discussed till now, which is the Malakam, Sirklam, the early key, which reaches us in an orderly and gradual way, Seder v'adroga, which is Mamalakalam. Even Seviv Kalam, which is Shaykh L'Elamis, is also, has some kind of connection. Ein nimshal d'Alas Manda. How do we get it? We get it through our own initiative. Allah's man, that we they sold to the avodah, Allah's man, biurim, sers nefesh, to our avodah we reach, we mamshech milamayl. Our mitzvah lo shayach Allah's man. Now brings another point. In Mitzrayim, the Bnei Yisrael in the state are not shaykh to that avodah. They were in a state, they were all wholly invested and overwhelmed by the the 49 gates of evil, of Tumah. Like we learned earlier. That, in other words, Avodas Hashem means in the person is in a state that because of the oven, because he's in a state of sin, the koyach of the nefesh Elokis is failing. Nefesh is nichshal, nefesh fails, the nechlash, koyach, and his strength is weakened. So he brings a dogma of the way it is in day-to-day life. The person's nefesh ba'amis, the evil the animal drives, overpower his nefesh Elokis. The nefesh Elokis is weakened, doesn't have the strength to fight back, to connect to the Eibishter. So that's the meaning what happened in Mitzrayim. This is what happened in Mitzrayim. We have this before. This time or the one before. Good. Do you remember we had in this time of Teres on the time? No, actually it was in the Maimah. It was the Maimah before page Reish Vav. It was the Maimah of Vayikra. So in page Reish Vav, he said the same thing, and now he bringing it again. So it says Vater, but the Teres on Mitzrayim. So he explains the way it is in Avodas Hashem. Remember, he said Aveseina is a remes of Ava ve'ir. Who is Aveseina? Avraham and Yitzchak. That's Ava and Ir. So only Aveseina means the Aveseina, the Ava ve'ir, Shem Pres Gatfin. So that's the Aveseina. Aveseina in this context is Marames of the Ava ve'ir, that they're the Gatfin. They're the wings, like it says in Tanya, that they're the wings that elevate us to connect to the Eibishter, the Ava ve'ir, the two wings. What do we even say? The Ava ve'ir is in a state of poverty. It doesn't have the strength. No, the person is not inspired to have Ava ve'ir. Doesn't have the strength to ascend above his own limitation. So Mitzrayim and Ani Avesein, it means that the state of that like learned actually in the Maimah before, the same concept. And because we are in a state of constraint and limit, and the Averis, Taivas, all this blocks us and doesn't allow the Avavira to be the inspiration to arise. Shazel Inyan, he brings in another concept from Allah. and they're going to have halacha, treifus, to bring another marshal of the idea of the onei saint. Sirches arei. So if you learn Hilchos treifus, there's a concept that if the long, a long that has a hole in it makes the behemoth treif. There's something called sirches. You don't see a hole, but you see, how do you translate it? Sircha. See a certain, some kind of growth, something attached. Let me see a good translation for sircha. Let's say, what does it mean? He said, what happens when a ray has a sircha? Usually, the way it works in Hilchos treifus is that a sircha means that really there was a hole. It's like a person when a person gets a cut in his hand, let's say, and then later on, so there's a scab. Not the scab. There's a sign that something was wrong, and then the skin grew back to. The skin goes back to, so that shows. There's another word for it, not scab. What's the word? There's a word for it that it shows that the person, let's say, people who are wounded in war, right? So they always have signs on their body that there was something wrong happened, and then
scars. I think it's called
scars. The one, scars. So they have scars, right? So scar. Like this. So they have this. Okay, I'm looking up the explanation. Sircha is, how does it translate? Sircha, cohesion. Yeah. So the scar is like the skin is expanding to cover up the hole. So mele. So the halacha is basically that if you open after you do be'ema, after shchita ubdika, you have to check this lung to make sure that the lung doesn't have any holes in it. But also, if you see a sircha, if you see a scar, you see a skin that's overgrown, right? So that is a sign that there was a hole there. So there's a whole process. How do we? I don't remember the exact details of the halacha. So I think there's a whole thing. You pull it. If it pulls easily off and it hides a hole below it, then it's the behemoth is treif. I'm not sure the exact details. Not negate, but here he uses this halacha. Allah sichas arei. Halacha is treif. But he uses this. I mean, it's not chiddush of this mimer. It's earlier in chiddush, I think, in Torah, because the Torah. That sichas arei means there's a deeper meaning to it. Just like we said before that there's the same concept we said earlier. Arei nisreches v'nidbekes. The reya, the long, is drawn and attached and ikshers ba'sichas eila she'ein nechaylo lahanif halalev. Basically, what does it mean? Why is the reya shenikva treifa? Why is it when the long is as a whole treif? Because it means the lung cannot perform its function of breathing. It's not a person. We're not talking about a behemoth, but any living thing. There's a hole in it's a lung. He can't breathe, and then he loses life. So it's that's why it's treif. Treif means treif is all the situations where the animal, where the behemoth has something that can cause it to die. It's treif. So if it says so, that's a hole. But similarly, it says in Avodah here, the lung, because the lung has a sircha, it can't breathe properly. So it can't give strength to the heart. The way it operates is the lung takes the oxygen, and I'm taking it back to our physical world. That the lung takes in the oxygen, and and takes in what it needs and gives that thing to the heart. Mashengen, if there's a hole, there's a sircha, so it doesn't allow it. So the heart, the lung cannot give the heart enough oxygen, and the heart fails. Ba'avoida, so there's whole concept. So we just described what it means in simple halachas, but it's not. We don't have to learn halachas treifus. It's all a mashal, obviously. So what the nimshul? Ba'avoida is sirchas hanefesh. So the concept of sircha also exists in the nefesh. What does it mean? Nefesh nisach v'nit nefesh habamis. I think one of the reasons, I'm not sure, maybe one of the reasons that okay, something here actually. So it's to use the word nisrach again in the mashal. Nisrach means that there's something that strings, that's attaches. So in the nimshal, nefesh habamis and elikis nisrach v'nit nefesh habamis attached. B'chol inyanim shaloi. The nefesh elikis is attached nefesh habamis. So this is the concept of sircha, the same what we said earlier. It's also sircha because the lung is attached, and it doesn't have the strength, the lev, to have avavir.
So I'm sorry, so Sircha in Beruchnius is what? It's the Averos? What does it?
It's Alamis Vesterim. That's not Mamash Averos. It means when a person is attached too much to Gashmis, to Taivas Gashmis, Nefesh Habamis. So that is the meaning. Look, in the Maya before, he used the Lashon. It says, Lav daf, if I'm on page Reish Vav, Lav daf kavein is klolas chumres saguf, chumres nefesh habamis, misabel, tavis gashman is a minimum master, is gas nefesh habamis. That's what he said in the Maya before. So the same concept can be used also. That's what the sircha. Sircha means that the nefesh is not in the proper state of health, so it's connected to the nefesh habamis. So that prevents the nefesh, just like in the muscle, when the lung as a whole. It doesn't give the heart enough strength, enough oxygen. Similar in the nimshul, that the nefesh doesn't have enough strength to have avavir, the knafayim, la'aletz l'mayim. Okay, all right, continue tomorrow.
Thank you.